Hello and welcome to the GridCast. I am your host, Danny Cox, and with me is my co-host. He is a box owner and a grid enthusiast, and when you put him on his back, he's just like a turtle. You can't flip him right side up. His name is Conan Bruce. Conan!
I don't even know what that means, but it sounds fun.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. So we are at the Boston Pro Days.
Boston.
Boston. And
we had
down
to practice that because I'm from the South.
In South Boston, right? All right. So anyway, on today's show in Quadrant 1, we have the commissioner of the NPGL, Mr. Aaron Bailey.
As we like to call him, the Commish.
The Commish. And also the head coach of the DC Brawlers, Mr. Justin Cotler.
Yeah, MVP coach.
MVP coach.
Last season, absolutely.
Mr. Bottle Thrower. So that's in Quadrant 1. We're going to talk about the Pro Day, what it means to you, and in Quadrant 2, we're going to talk about all those amateur grid leagues that are popping up around the country and what that also means to us. And then in Quadrant 3,
we have a great guest today. We have the USA president of Eleiko Sport here with us today, and we're going to talk to him about what that company's, how it's impacting grid, how it's impacting pro grid leagues. Good stuff.
You know what? I can't wait to get to the rest of the show. Let's head on over to Quadrant 1.
Let's do it.
Hey guys, welcome to Quadrant 1. We are at the Boston Pro Days, and with us, is the NPGL commissioner, who we like to call the Commish, Mr. Aaron Bailey.
Hello, hello.
And the MVP coach of the NPGL last year and the head coach of the DC Brawlers, Mr. Justin Cotler.
Good to be here, guys.
Cheers,
Pleasure.
guys.
And since we are in Boston, we have to give a little shout out to Boston with the Sam Adams Boston Lager, right?
Boston Lager.
Boston Lager. Cheers.
Very appropriate. I like it.
Especially before noon.
Yeah, I know.
All right, guys, so what we're trying to figure out and let our fans know more about, and we've seen it on the website, we've seen it around the web. What are the Pro Days all about? What are we doing here?
Sure. So Pro Days is, this year, 6 different Pro Days across the country, testing athletes to potentially become drafted athletes or signed athletes by the current 9 teams. We're pleased to be in Boston. We've got a great turnout, especially on the male side. Any of you females out there that want to try out, sign up. And we're testing the grid score today, which are 5 tests. And tomorrow we'll do 5 additional tests. They get to meet the scouts and coaches from each team. Some of the owners are here as well. You've got the world champion, newly engaged Justin Cotler here, which is like a celebrity in our
sport. So there is some interaction between the athletes and the scouts. The scouts aren't just like sitting over in the corner the whole time. Like there's some real-time discussions.
Interactive.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sure the athletes appreciate that.
I think for me, one of the biggest things, especially at some of these pro days and ultimately with the combine, is I love athletes that come right up to me, introduce themselves, ask me what I want to see, what we're looking for. You know, I mean, an athlete that's enthusiastic, that's done their homework, that comes in and really, is looking to impress. That's what I'm looking for, you know,
right.
And I think that's what a lot of teams are looking for. We don't want people who are just kind of off to the side, and, you know, that's kind of a red flag, actually.
Right, as a coach, it's like, hey, what I got to do, coach, put me in. What I need, you know, if you got that eagerness.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are fantastic forums for us to be able to check out and see the talent, but at the same time, you know, we're not just here to test talent. We're here to test character and coachability, et cetera. So, you know, it's a fantastic way for us to, you know, see who's going to be able to come in and contribute to our sport and to our teams. So it's great.
Yeah. So where does an athlete? So we get done with the pro. I'm an athlete here. I get invited to a pro day. Where do I go from here? What happens next?
Sure. So there's a couple of ways that you become a member of a team this year. One is the expansion teams have a limited number of athletes they can sign outside the draft process, free agents, etc. The existing teams they can sign free agents that were released from other teams or sign one athlete this year outside the draft process. So from Pro Days, you are going to be invited to the Combine, which is going to be April 17th, 18th, and 19th.
We haven't nailed down a location yet?
We have not. Okay. It's probably going to be on the East Coast somewhere, but it's
cool.
We'll decide that soon.
Oh, good.
Once you go to a Pro Day or a Combine, you're qualified for the draft, which is April the 20th.
So I think that's important. So a Pro Day or a Combine.
Correct.
So you don't necessarily have to go to the Combine to get drafted.
It's going to be less likely you get invited to the Combine if you don't go to a Pro Day. In fact, it would be more of an exception than anything else.
Okay.
Can any of these athletes here, for instance, if a coach says, oh, you know what, that they are really a special athlete, can they just run in there and sign them right now?
Depending on where the team is in their current roster, yes.
Okay.
So, for instance, Baltimore, and Carolina are here today. They have not signed all of their athletes outside of the draft.
Okay.
So, potentially today, some of these athletes could get signed.
Oh, that's
Amazing.
awesome for
Yeah.
them.
Heck yeah. So outside of an outgoing athlete, like you said, Justin, what kind of traits are you looking for in an athlete?
I think every team is looking for something different, right? Depending on how you're kind of putting your team together. I know for us, our team, is pretty deep right now, but at the same time, we're looking for that diamond in the rough, really. We're looking for, someone who can come in who has a pretty impressive skill set, either body weight wise or strength wise, someone that we not just see kind of as someone who may be pro ready right now, but someone who we may be able to mold into our system. Whether that be part of the 18 active players or maybe part of the 6 developmental players, which is huge. And you're going to see some athletes who are going to contribute to our team this year who were on our reserve roster last year. So I think a lot of these athletes need to understand that, a lot of the existing teams, we're looking for athletes that we can kind of go out, draft, and plug in to be able to build for the future. And that's huge. That's a huge part of these pro days and combines is you're not just building your team for this year, but you're building your team for the years to come.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing here. And what I love about it is, you're going to see some athletes here that no one's heard of before, and they're going to wow us, and ultimately they're going to make a team. And it's going to be a pretty awesome story.
I personally can't wait to find those diamonds in the rough that are here and find out their backstory, what made them who they are. You know,
it's exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
So as a fan coming to the pro days, looking forward as we have 5 more pro days.
Yes.
Yeah. 5 more pro days. As a fan, what can I look forward to seeing at the different pro days?
Well, I ultimately speaking, it's great. It's awesome.
Right.
It's fun to watch, right? You're going to get to see some superhuman stuff. You're going to get to see people who are knocking out, 20, 25 muscle-ups unbroken. You're going to watch some people who are going to be, some guys are going to be able to do the 2-rep max clean and jerk at 350, 360 pounds. Women over 200 pounds. Yeah. Rope climbs in under 20 seconds, 4 rope climbs. It's going to be incredible to watch. And then ultimately at some of the pro days, you're going to see some racing, which is going to be exciting. So as a fan, you're going to really get to kind of dive in and watch the ins and outs of the sport. You're also going to be able to kind of recognize some athletes that may not be household names yet, but you can put them on your radar, and ultimately you're going to be able to see what us as coaches are seeing, and you're going to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to kind of put a star next to that athlete, and let's see how they progress throughout the year or maybe in the next few years. And I think it's great to just get that insight. If you're really kind of a nut about stats and various things and I'm a sports guy, and I'm a stat guy for all sports,
right.
And I love kind of those little innuendo, those little kind of meticulous details about stuff. And I think as a fan, you're going to be able to come here and get a jump on everybody else before the season even starts, to be able to see who's going to be able to contribute. So
as a fan myself, like the first thing that I thought when I saw it was announced that we're doing these at different CrossFit boxes or different gyms across the country is there's no barrier between me, the fan, the athletes, everything that's going on here. There's no buffer, right?
Yeah.
So you're immersed in that. Like you said, not only am I going to get to watch it, but I can almost feel it.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it. It's a little different when you're at a grid match. You're removed a little bit as it needs to be, but here it's really cool just to see, some guy or gal stand over in the corner 1 minute.
Yeah.
And then they come out here and do extraordinary, physical
We've got
events.
that Fight Club setting, which are right on. It's really cool.
And today, in addition, most of the Boston Iron athletes are here, and they're actually going to be helping us judge a lot of the tests. And so, being that close to those athletes is a really cool thing too.
Yeah, to me, it's just like so I'm a big sports fan in general, right? So if I can make an analogy to NFL, so this would just be like seeing the future Peyton Manning. But I can see him throw the football right here.
Yeah.
Right? I can almost have him throw it to me.
100%.
Right? But now you're here seeing the future stars of the grid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And as we wrap up Quadrant 1, so we talked a little bit earlier, a coach was talking about developmental players. Quadrant 2, we're going to get into that a little bit deeper and come down from the pro level, get down to the minor and amateur league levels here next in Quadrant 2. So with that said,
Yeah, let's head on over to Quadrant 2. Hey guys, welcome to Quadrant 2. So let's delve into this a little bit. So we got the Southern Amateur Grid League, Mid-Atlantic Grid League, we got the Western Amateur Grid League, and then we hear about another one that's coming up on the West Coast as well. And I did write an article about this to talk about the differences between the minor leagues and the pro leagues, but let's hear it from you guys. So Conan?
Yeah, so, we're watching this whole sport of grid just develop and explode. The pro league is 1 year old, give or take, right?
Correct.
Now we've got minor league systems, amateur league systems coming up on both coasts, East Coast, West Coast, which I love, hoping somebody in the Midwest gets on board, right? But here we are at the pro days. While we're here in other places, we've got minor league and amateur league grid teams that are doing what they're calling combines. So what we're looking at is get your guys' viewpoint on how does this whole thing work into the ecosystem? Like, how does this stuff play out, right? So minor league system, amateur league system, what do you want to call it? Semi-pro?
So the first structural aspect of that is the league, the NPGL doesn't have any official affiliations with the minor league teams, but are highly supportive of it. The more grid, the better from where we stand. So we really actually do what we can to support some minor league teams as far as helping them with technology for scoring or layout of the grid, equipment-wise, et cetera. And we're really enjoying seeing how it's growing. I know that Justin was at a combine in Orlando last weekend, right?
Yeah, it was great.
And your experience was very positive, correct?
Yeah, I think obviously the Brawlers are we're kind of knee deep in it, right? I mean, we've got teams that are affiliated with us.
Three minor league teams in the SAGL.
Yes.
And also a partnership in the Mid-Atlantic Grid League.
Correct.
So neck deep.
Yeah,
not knee
neck
deep.
deep. Yeah,
neck
neck deep.
deep.
That's good. But yeah, I was in Orlando last week and for the Orlando Outlaw Combine, and the Atlanta Assassins are having a combine this weekend.
Coached by two of the DC
Taylor's
Brawler
a coach,
teams.
right?
Well, yeah, Taylor's they're
she-
assisting. Yeah, Taylor's
Okay.
assisting and Lindsay's assisting. I think they both realize that their main priority is to be the best grid athletes they can be, and coaching takes up a lot of time.
I was going to say coaching's tough.
Yeah, it's real tough. Taylor learned that last weekend when she went up against me with the team she was coaching, and it was
A little in-house
Just-
competition right there.
yeah.
Isn't it true that I probably should know this, but isn't it true that if you are on a NPGL team, you're not allowed to participate
in the SAGL?
Right.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
Yeah, so these are feeder systems,
Yeah.
really. These are great ways for athletes to gain experience and play the sport, and ultimately for all of us at the pro level, it's a great way for us to also scout talent and see some of the up-and-coming athletes that are going to be coming out. But it's a great way to get experience, because if you're not on a pro team, you may not be able to race, right? But these are great ways for people to race, and it's a great way to grow awareness of the sport. And I mean, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, so I have a question for you guys. So a year ago, this was pretty much thought up, right? So it was brought out to the public that, hey, we're going to do this grid league and call it the, NPGL. We'll say NPGL.
Sure.
Right? And so did you guys envision this would happen now?
Definitely.
Yeah, so a year ago
Absolutely.
you said, okay, we knew this minor league system was going to happen around the
Absolutely.
country.
Yep.
Yeah, because
Pretty incredible.
I think one of the first conversations Danny and I had was, as sports fanatics, we said to ourselves, can I, obviously with some a little bit of equipment, I mean, I can't do it in my backyard with nothing, but with a little bit of equipment, can I grid? Can I race? Can I do this thing? And we started looking at it like, yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Like if me and my buddies want to get together and do, skins and shirts at our local, fitness gym, whatever, as long as they got a little room, we can do grid. Now, are we going to have a full grid rig? No, absolutely not. We don't need a full Eleiko grid, although we'd love to have one. Everybody would,
everybody
right?
would, yeah.
But the point is, you can almost do this, on a Sunday afternoon. Let's go do some grid, right? And it is possible, and I think people are starting to wrap their head around that, that you don't have to have necessarily, we don't all have an NFL stadium, so that isn't what it takes to play football in the backyard. So I think that's great. That means the sport can evolve, right, and survive.
I mean,
Absolutely.
We can definitely see collegiate leagues popping up. We're talking with the Pentagon right now about doing an armed services league. So it's all anticipated and really cool stuff.
There's no competitive people in the military. Yeah, that's going to be wicked to watch.
Or fit, right?
They're going to be wicked to watch. It's
You
going to
see
be full
Little
contact.
League, yeah. You can see Little League maybe. I mean, everything is scalable, right? So you can go down to Little Leagues.
Absolutely.
You can go to the high school.
And then, Grid Europe, Grid Australia, Grid Canada.
I mean, so I was in Orlando last week
Right.
for the Orlando Outlaws Combine, and there was a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, and both of them came up to me and said, "Coach, you're going to see me in a couple of years." It was awesome.
That is really awesome.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
cool to watch, and it's cool to see, and it's amazing to see how the sport is spreading. But I mean, guys, honestly, it's infectious when you watch it. You know what I mean? It's one of those sports I think that when people see it and when they watch it, they're going to get hooked on it.
It's fast,
inevitable.
exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Adrenaline filled. I mean, it's go, go, go. And, I think it kind of taps into, that kind of innate, competitive streak that we all have. And it's just fun to watch,
Absolutely. So I got to ask you. So as an athlete, if I was training for the sport of CrossFit and I was doing that 100% of the time, could I be 100% ready for grid?
I think that's a $1 million question, right? I mean, that's what we see a lot of athletes in functional fitness trying to figure out. And I think ultimately what you're going to see is that to be a top grid athlete, an elite grid athlete, that you're going to have to train grid, that you're going to have to be programmed for grid.
So I learned from talking to Taylor Stallings,
Yes.
for instance, right, on your
Absolutely.
team. I asked her if she was going to go for the games this year.
Yeah.
And she said that she can't, and I asked her why, and she said that, well, for functional fitness, and you have to go at pretty much 80% all the time. However, on grid, you have these bursts where you have to go 95 to 100% red line for 30, 45 seconds, right? So is that what you're talking about, the difference between the two and the reason why you have to train?
Without question. I mean, they're different sports. So, I mean, for us, what we're looking at is, you're looking at that sprint phase. You're looking at, just short durational explosive cycling with, intermittent rest. And for the most part, you're training different phases, right? I mean, honestly. We're not doing triathlons. We're not swimming. We're not, running a 5K. This is fast.
Right.
And you've got to train fast. And if you don't train fast, you're going to hurt yourself when it comes to grid. And honestly, at the end of the day, guys, it's a professional sport. I don't give a shit about a 5K. It's not what I'm looking for, okay? What I'm looking for is someone who can get out there, cycle shit out of the bar, and then get out and I get somebody else in who can cycle shit out of the bar, right? Or chest to bars, or muscle ups, or whatever it might be.
You're making me want to go out there and start
listen,
doing burpees.
I mean, that's the thing. So at the end of the day, I want someone who's focused and committed and is going to be training for what I'm going to put them in for. Okay? Different sport, different training methodology, and in my opinion, different programming. And at the end of the day, those who are going to be training for grid full time are going to be the ones you're going to see out on the floor, and those that aren't are the ones you're not going to see out on the floor.
And I think we've seen this, in years past, you've seen professional athletes, anomalies, who might be able to play football and baseball at a high level.
Yeah.
That's rare, right?
Very rare.
Very rare.
mean,
So if you, where I'm
Not a lot
going
of
with
Bo
this,
Jacksons. Not a lot of Bo
exactly.
Jacksons. Not a lot of Deion
If
Sanders.
you're,
Bo
if-
breakers.
but
Yeah.
if you're out there and you're looking in the mirror and you're saying to yourself, "I am Bo Jackson," you might be wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
You might
we'll
be
see.
wrong.
Yeah, try it. Yeah.
You might be,
Yeah.
but it's better to find your sport, be good at your sport, whatever that sport is, and all these various sports, we think, on the GridCast, can work all, at the same time. Like they're different sports.
Yeah.
So that's the key takeaway, is that find your sport, to be the best you can be at your sport, whatever that sport is. We happen to love grid.
Yeah.
So
Us too.
And the guys like a Marcus Hendren,
Yeah.
who started out being a phenomenal CrossFit athlete, still is.
Yes.
But he's a phenomenal athlete.
Unbelievable athlete.
Right, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you've taken him and really groomed him, molded him to be a great grid athlete
Yeah, I mean,
because he's a phenomenal
Absolutely,
athlete.
without question.
isn't
I
it
mean,
fun to get those people, though? Those just
listen. It's
crazy natural athletes.
I mean, we're lucky. I mean, in this sport, we're lucky to see that. I mean, pretty much, guys, you're going to see over the next few years. I mean, you're going to see some of the best athletes in the world coming to play grid. I mean, look at Klokoff now. You got Willis McGahee, who I spent some time with down in Florida. These guys they see the potential of the sport, and they also, it's fun. You know what I mean? It's fun to do, and you can take all these great athletes from different sports who, maybe that, look at McGahee. McGahee, no longer is in the NFL. Maybe for the NFL, he was getting to the point where he had to, kind of wrap up his career. But he's still an unbelievable athlete. Yeah. He's in his early 30s. He can still contribute. The guy's a freak show, right? And he's going to be amazing for a team. And you're going to see a lot of these guys coming from different sports, and ultimately, we're just going to see the level of athlete just go, every year is just going to be going up. I mean, it's amazing.
It's amazing. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah,
it is going to be exciting. So we've talked so far in Quadrant 1, we talked about some of the pro league stuff. We moved it down a notch or two to minor leagues and amateur leagues. Next up in Quadrant 3, we've got a great guest. We're going to bring on Rickard, USA president for Eleiko Sport, and talk about what their plans are with some, with their equipment company. It's going to be exciting.
Let's head on over to Quadrant 3.
Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome to Quadrant 3. With us, we have the president of USA Eleiko. His name is Rickard. Rickard, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
So, I have a big important question for you.
Yes.
Everybody in the world asks this and messes it up. This word back here,
Yep.
give me the proper pronunciation of that word.
We pronounce it Eleiko.
Eleiko.
Yes.
So,
that's what we pronounce
if someone says Eleiko
Yeah.
or Eleiko, can I smack them?
I wouldn't smack them. I would
Correct them?
Correct them. Yes,
Eleiko,
yes,
nicely.
yes.
Eleiko.
But what you
Eleiko.
could tell them is you can actually ask them what it actually means, what it stands for.
What does it mean?
Well, does anybody know?
No.
I do, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's short for Electrical Installations Limited Company. So in Swedish it's Elektriska Installationer Kommanditbolag.
Say that 3 times fast.
Exactly.
That just blew my mind.
Yeah.
So it's actually an acronym.
Yeah, it is. It is electrical
Holy cow.
installations. So that's actually how we started. We the company goes back all the way to 1927. So it was started by Mr. and Mrs. Johansson. They were making waffle irons and toasters. So it was basically an electrical company, and they had nothing to do with weightlifting at all. But the time went by, and it was a little entrepreneurial company. And in 1957, the Mrs. Johansson, who was running the company at that time, she was approached by one of the guys who was working in the factory, and said that was asked or basically proposed that we should make a weightlifting barbell. And Mrs. Johansson had no idea about weightlifting barbells or anything like that, so she said, why should we make a weightlifting barbell? Well, it turns out that this guy in the factory, Mr. Hellström, he was a weightlifter, and he had seen that there was an issue with barbells at the time. So for a competition, that you needed to go through 15, 20 bars just to kind of get through the competition, because they bend and they break, and it was a problem.
This is the late 1950s.
Exactly, it was in 1957.
Okay.
So he had this idea about how to make a revolutionary barbell using Swedish steel with the right flexibility, the right kind of composition in the steel. The right grip was very important, the knurling, and having the rotation on the sleeves to make sure that you had a proper rotation at all times, to make sure that the bar was safe. And he asked for permission if he was able to try it out and try it. And Mrs. Johansson said yes. And I would say ever since it was pretty much an immediate success at that time. So ever since we kind of set the gold standard for barbells.
Right, and now you are the gold standard. So
Yeah.
So you are the president of Eleiko USA.
Correct.
So what does that mean to the USA? What are you trying to do to bring it to the USA?
Right. So we obviously been in a supplier for world championships and Olympic games for a very, very long time.
Weightlifting.
In weightlifting, correct, in weightlifting. And we wanted to make it easier for the U.S. consumer to get our products. And obviously we see a tremendous growth in the market for just using weightlifting barbells and other free weights, which we also do. We obviously do dumbbells and kettlebells and all that. So we decided to open Eleiko Sport USA about 5 or 6 years ago, based in Chicago, and we serve colleges, universities, strength conditioning facilities, professional teams. We outfit all of those facilities, and obviously working much more also in the functional fitness market as well.
Right. So I own a CrossFit box in Ashburn, Virginia.
Yeah.
If I own a gym somewhere, you guys are actually like specialists at coming in, taking a look at the space, and figuring out how to best use that space, and not buy stuff you don't need.
Yeah.
Make sure you buy stuff you do need, right? I mean, that's kind of like how you guys have built a lot of the company, right?
Right. I mean, we always had a really big focus on the quality of the product, and that's always going to be the kind of the guiding light for us, the quality of the products. And if you're buying an Eleiko product, it's going to last a really long time. It's going to be a safe product, and it's also going to look good, which I think is important too. So for a lot of facilities, you want it to look really, really nice.
Yeah, I actually heard a story one time, and this may be exaggerated just a tiny bit, but it sounds right. That a guy walks into a gym, sees.
Sounds like a joke first.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Guy walks into a bar.
Guy walks into a gym. If you're at my gym, it's a bar and a gym.
Yeah, that's right.
If a guy walks into a gym, sees some nice, pretty new Eleiko bars, beautiful as they are, and then sees some that are probably 15, 20 years old, and rushes over to those because, as I understand it, they get better with age, kind of like Danny and I.
Right. I mean, I would say they do. We have some gyms have bars from they're over 40 years old. They still perfectly straight. Works fine. It spins beautifully. So once you're getting a bar, an Eleiko bar, it's going to last a really long time. Yeah.
So that kind of leads us into a little history of who Eleiko is, where you guys came from. Let's talk about how this relationship happened between Grid and Eleiko, and how that evolved, and maybe where it's going.
Yeah.
Sure. So, first, we were very proud to have Eleiko as our partner. They're a great company, great people. Their products are phenomenal. How it evolved was Tony Buddy, I think, contacted you first.
Yeah, he did. He did. We're back in January last year.
We were looking to see who we were going to partner with as far as barbells, weights, rig, and we had talked to a number of companies, and it just felt like a good fit at the time. To partner with them instead of somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not go for the best?
Yeah. And it really, it's been better than I expected, frankly. It's the involvement. They've been very helpful in how we look at our sports. We've got some new exciting things we're working on for this year's new elements, new equipment. Yeah. So it's exciting.
Yeah. I think what made us interested at Eleiko from the moment we heard Tony explain the sport and what it was all about was that the professional aspect of it, that this is professional athletes. They're going to get paid. You're going to have teams competing against each other. And I think that was one of the things that really made us interested, because that's kind of where we come from. We come from a professional sports background, from weightlifting and powerlifting, obviously. So being able to kind of find this new professional sport was it was a great fit for us, I think.
Yeah. So if I'm a guy or a gal, and I'm in my garage gym, maybe at my local gym. And I've got aspirations, as we all do, to maybe be a pro grid athlete someday, right? I'm looking out here at some of these athletes like we have at the Boston Pro Days, and I'm like, I want to be that guy or gal. First things first, functional fitness athletes, we're kind of gear nuts, right? Like we whatever that athlete's using, I want to use it too. So knowing that they're out here using Eleiko equipment, if I'm that guy or gal sitting at the house or sitting in my gym, can I go to Eleiko and buy that kind of consumer level equipment? Is that possible? Or?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
It's available all the way down.
Absolutely.
From
Yeah.
levels.
Actually, the bars that we have here at the Pro Days is our new XF bar. It's a multi-purpose bar. That's really geared to a little bit more high repetitions. The knurling is a little bit smoother, but you're still going to get a really nice grip on there. It's a great bar for multi-purpose.
I took some pictures of the bar while you guys were setting up, and I kind of did some different angles because I wanted to show, like, if you know Eleiko bars really well, like the knurling as it needs to be for weightlifting is pretty gnarly, right? Yeah. But you're not doing 100 of those, right? So we are here, and it's still nice and smooth. I grabbed it. but it's not going to rip your hands apart, right?
Right.
Which is obviously what you want. So they're definitely a very different bar.
Yeah.
Besides the knurling, what are some other different things going on?
Well, I want to kind of mention one thing here, is because one of the things that we will never compromise on is the quality of the steel. So you will actually, we haven't changed anything of the steel, so you're going to have exactly the same type of actually the bar as you would find in our competition bars. In this one.
Which are the ones that you use for world records, American records.
Correct. So you're going to get that whip, you're going to get that feel, the flexibility of the bar, very similar to what you find in our competition bars.
That's awesome. Yeah. Because is this you have sport training bars?
Correct.
Competition bars, and now the XF bar?
Correct.
So those
it's basically three levels of bars.
That is incredible. So we talked a little bit about. Do I go to the website? How do I find? How do I find the equipment? Is that the best way?
You can definitely go to our website, eleikosport.com or eleikoshop.com. So either that or just give us a call.
Oh, nice. Now, earlier we were talking about how you guys are getting into an area of education and training on how to use your equipment. Can you give us some insight on that? Yeah,
I mean we've seen the obviously the interest for weightlifting, the movements in the growth in the recent years, and obviously the growth in functional fitness, and they all kind of using the Olympic lifts. And we also see that in the strength conditioning market, as a strength coach at for example, a college or a university, where they need to train an athlete to become successful at different sports. How do you train a basketball player, or how do you train a track athlete, or how do you do that? And we believe that the best thing to do that is to use the Olympic lifts, obviously, because they build power, strength, explosiveness, and speed at the same time. So, but we saw kind of a need to teach people how to do that. And since we have all this knowledge from weightlifting, we are putting together more and more courses in specifically the Olympic lifts and the program design aspect of how do you actually program a training program for an Olympic for a basketball player, for example, with the Olympic lift. So we have courses for that. We just released those now in the US. We had them for a long time in Europe, but we're really happy to bring that over to the US market as well.
Yeah, that's very exciting, because I think there's a lot of coaches out there that may coach. We call it soccer here. American football. Like you said, track and field,
right?
All those sports. So I was a track and field guy in high school. Played a little football. That kind of did a little weightlifting there. That was the first time I tasted it. But as a soccer player, never, right? But now knowing what I know about weightlifting, like you can take an average athlete and make them into an incredible athlete. Yeah. Learning that power and strength from weightlifting, and it's variations of two movements, right? The snatch and the clean. So it's incredible. So you guys see that expanding?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And the way we do it is that we actually host these at different partner universities. So of course now we're offering is the Eleiko Olympic weightlifting and program design for strength coaches.
So where can they find that?
The next one we're actually doing at the end of the month at Auburn University. And then we have one coming up in New Jersey. It's a pivotal training. We have one at Colorado State University in June. And we'll be announcing a lot more of these courses.
Now, is that on the website? Is that
how
you can find it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any things that we can look for in maybe this season or in the future with the partnership with NPGL and Eleiko? Anything at all? I mean, some exciting things coming, I'm sure.
Yeah. We're working on a few new elements this year. Pieces of equipment, some heavier balls, stones, some type of equipment. We're looking at like our plow boxes, maybe some walls.
Yeah, so probably every aspect. Don't give any secrets out. We're not looking for secrets. Yeah. But but what I think is exciting though is exactly right. So this sport's evolving. The equipment's going to evolve.
It is.
Correct. Right, and Eleiko's evolving with it. Yep. Right, you guys are looking at doing. So that's going to be exciting to watch happen.
Oh, it will.
We really appreciated having you on the show today. We can't say enough about the NPGL and the pro days, all the great athletes that are here. It's going on behind us. Earlier we did Quadrant 2 and Quadrant 1. You could see some of that going on behind us. It's going to be really exciting. We're looking forward to seeing this thing explode this season.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thanks so much.
All right.
Thank you, guys. All right, let's head on over to Quadrant 4. Hey, we want to thank Rickard from Eleiko on Quadrant 3, and now here in Quadrant 4, we're going to talk about the future. So we got the next pro days that we're going to attend as a GridCast, and also we're going to do a wrap-up show next week. And then anything you want to talk about specifically, Aaron?
Excited for season 2. It's great to be back moving in competition and pro days, etc.
Yes.
Yeah. Very excited that we are partnering again with NBC to do at least 12 shows on NBC or NBC Sports. Eleiko has been a great equipment partner for us. They're not only incredible equipment, but they're great guys, great company. Happy to have DC, San Francisco, all the rest of the teams here. We brought on Baltimore and Carolina in the off season for the 2 new teams. So just a lot of really cool, exciting stuff. We appreciate you guys being out here and covering our sport.
Yeah, awesome.
It's exciting.
On DC Brawlers wise, we have our pro day coming up the end of February. DC and Baltimore sharing our pro day, so that's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to that, and
so are we
hosting that, and yeah,
no travel for us.
Be stoked. I know it's going to be nice. And for us, obviously, you can find us online, dcbrawlers.com, on Facebook, etc. Want to thank Marriott, Clean Snatch Soap, some of our sponsors, Cross Ropes, etc. I'm just stoked, man. I can't wait. I love this stuff.
It's going to be an exciting season.
This stuff just pumps me up, man.
Heck yeah, you pump me up. Your intensity's pumping me up right now.
Excited!
Danny's going to go grab a bar any second.
I'm ready to go.
You didn't give him a pro day card, but he's going to be out there.
I can't wait.
Justin's been practicing his water bottle
I have
toss.
been, yeah. You might see a little different method this year. I got some different techniques.
Just don't use a Nalgene bottle. It's going to crack and be really
I know.
bad. Right?
I know. Yeah.
All right, guys, we really appreciate you being guest hosts on the GridCast. You're welcome back anytime. Thanks for having us here. Thanks for having us at all the pro days. It's extremely exciting. We get really pumped up about all this stuff, and there's some good stuff coming down the road. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Appreciate it.